Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Reckless Paradise podcast. I am your host, Dystro, and tonight's episode is another random ranking episode, but this time it is another Van Halen episode. Don't really know how many Van Halen random rankings we've done at this point. I've probably lost count at this point, but who knows? Um, so tonight's, I guess, list here is going to be an interesting plethora of albums here. Some of them are during David Lee Roth era, some of them are during Sammy Hagar era, but majority of them is during David Lee Roth era. Um, so the 10 songs that are up for grabs tonight is Dead Drop Legs from 1984, which we just covered. Ice Cream Man, which is from self-titled debut album. Top of the World from For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge, which is the Fuck album. Black and Blue from OU812. Cabo Wabo from OU812. Little Guitars from Diver Down. Everybody Wants Some from Women and Children First. Light of the Sky from Van Halen 2. Somebody Get Me a Doctor from Van Halen 2. And The Seventh Seal from Balance. So let's get on into this, huh? So starting with the lowest of the low here, I put The Seventh Seal from Balance. That album was good in its own way, but there was some songs that I didn't really care about. I mean, Seventh Seal, I haven't really listened to that whole album as a whole since me and Marissa did the album discography a few years ago. And we've ranked I think this album and Van Halen 3 at the bottom of the bottom, which I mean rightfully so. But this song doesn't really do much for me. With some of the other ones that are on this list. I mean, it's still a good song. It's just, it's not really my cup of tea. And plus, it's Sammy Hagar era, which is 95 when Balance came out. So it's like, it's kind of being, trying to be grungy, but it's not really grungy. Um, I mean, it's probably a good song. It's probably a good song in its own right, and I mean, truthfully so. But it's not really just up my alley. Speaking of which, number nine is from the Fuck album, Top of the World. Also another Sammy Hagar album. I actually prefer the Fuck album more so than Balance, because it was still during the 80s, and plus Sammy Hagar, when he took over, when David left in 84, he had 5150 under his belt, he had OU812 under his belt, he had for Unlawful Carnal Knowledge, the Fuck album under his belt, so like he had some good, I guess, some good, albums under his belt. Um, but it's like it's still kind of one of those songs that I would have to listen to it again to kind of like maybe get a I guess a refresher if you want to call it that. I mean it's still a good song too. But it's really just not something I would listen to. I'd probably maybe skip it and maybe come back to it at some point. But that's just me. Um, Going into number eight, that was number nine, by the way. Top of the World. Going into number eight, it is Drop Dead Legs from 1984, which I have covered the whole album of 1984 on the channel for a breakdown not too long ago. So if you haven't watched or listened to that video, go check that out. Drop Dead Legs. I personally think maybe it could have been just Ixnayed off the record, and probably placed in within like maybe Fair Warning, or maybe one of the later albums, or maybe one of the later albums during the Sammy Hagar era, but maybe like with Sammy's vocals. Maybe that's just me. Um, I mean, truth be told, David's lyrics on that, it's very just, it's very showman like, which I mean, he's always been a showman. I mean, look at the man. Um, but it's a song that I could probably like with Top of the World, maybe like skip it and maybe come back to it at some point. If I was very very desperate. Um, but it's like I said, it's not really my cup of tea. So, but I bet you that's probably some people's best, maybe favorite song off that record. But with 1984, you have Panama, you have Jump, you have like two of those like greatest hits, which is Jump and Panama, and then you have all the other stuff in between. I think just having Jump in Panama and some of the other stuff that were on that record. I think it could have just been done without Drop Dead Legs. That's just me, like I said. Um, but I digress. Going into number 7 is from OU812 is Black and Blue. Um, this one was kind of I guess, a sleeper for me. Mostly because of Sammy's vocals and because of the time period, which it was during the 80s going into the 90s. Because with the 80s and 90s, like 80s was kind of transitioning out of the pop and and all that stuff, and kind of going into the 90s, like it was grunge, and you have like Nirvana, you have Green Day, you have Red Hot Chili Peppers, you have like all these grunge and punk bands, kind of making a name for themselves. But I do know that, like, OUA12 was during, the 80s, so it was like you had, like, Cyndi Lauper, you had Joan Jett, the Blackhearts, oh, what was it? Ozzy Osbourne, you had, um, Simply Red, you had, like, all these, like, really good 80s bands. And plus Van Halen was still on top of that at that point too. Um, but Black and Blue, I think it was like a kind of a sleeper hit for me. I would have to re-listen to it again just to maybe feel it again, feel it emotionally and mentally and physically. Um, Same goes for Cabo Wabo, which is my number 6. Um, it's right there in the middle. Like it's not bad, but it's not worse. Um, but I would have to say those two off of OU812 was actually a little bit. It was actually two like sleeper hits off of that record. I think. I mean, not everybody's gonna like the Sammy Hagar stuff, but he's trying his best. But like I said, it's not everybody's cup of tea. Like what you like. So going into the top 5 here. And you probably had noticed like uh 4 out of the like top like bottom 5, 4 of them were the Sammy Hagar albums, which I mean, truth be told, it's like David Lee Roth's a little bit better than Sammy Hagar, just saying. Um so my number 5 was Somebody Give Me a Doctor from Van Halen 2. Um This is like right in the high of that momentum from Van Halen 1, the self-titled debut album. Um, because I think it was Van Halen 1 did good numbers, but then Van Halen 2 did way better numbers because of, I'd say Somebody Give Me a Doctor, but I know it's DOA, Spanish Fly, which is the instrumental, and some other songs off of that record too. Um, which I mean is like all power to them. Um, Somebody Give Me a Doctor. It's like, it's very, of the time. It's 81 or 82 when that album comes out. And plus, like, it's David Lee Roth era. So let's just talk about that real quick. Um, it's still a pretty good song. I mean, the lyrics and the instruments, and I mean, like the whole aura, I guess, of around all four of them. David, Eddie, Alex, and Michael. Like they have that brotherhood. Let's just say that, putting it politely here. That brotherhood and that aura, like around them, being like, like we're making some really kick-ass music, and we're just gonna be doing our thing. Which, truth be told, not a bad idea. Um, Same can also be said for my number four, which is also from Van Halen 2, Light Up the Sky. Um, Light Up the Sky was actually a sleeper hit for me too. I think that was another song that actually put Van Halen 2 over the top. Uh, and I think in record sales, I think I could be wrong on that, but I really don't know. Um, I mean, it's still a pretty good song too. I would say like a lot of the songs in the David Lee Roth era is good in their own way. Because like David was kind of he was writing with Eddie and Alex, but mostly it was just Alex and Eddie doing a lot of the songs. And plus, like you probably have to throw in some, sexual innuendos into there, just kind of like make it of the times. Um, but David's vocals is very, like I said, for lack of a better term, showmanship. Um, which is, he is a showman. I mean, whatever. Um, but yeah, that was my number four, Light of the Sky. So now down to the nitty gritty here. Um, My number three was Little Guitars. I am counting the instrumental going into Little Guitars as well, like as a duo here. I mean, it's still a pretty good kick-ass song. I do like the instrumentals sometimes, like when it goes into a song, because it makes you feel, I guess, in a way, it makes it feel more raw and real. Like Cathedral or no, it's Intruder, I think, go into Pretty Woman in Diver Down. Which I mean that's a good like transition right there. Um but Little Guitars, the instrumental going into Little Guitars, it was like a good transition into that song. And plus, Diver Down is a really good record too. Um, I am actually glad that I put it at number three. Because like if I had put it any lower, I think Marissa would have hated me. Um, but my top two, it is gonna be kind of a tricky one because both of them are good, and like I've said many numerous times probably on this recording here, both of them are very very good in their own way. Um, One is from Women and Children First, and then the other one is from Van Halen, the debut album. So, with that in mind, the consideration between both of their songs here, in my number two slot, I went with Everybody Wants Some from Women and Children First. Now, that is from 1980s. Um, and I guess the time period of that record, like he had, many hair metal bands coming around that exact same time in 1980. Um, and in the 80s, you had, no, I think it was yeah, 1990. Yeah, 1990. I'm sorry, 1990. 1990 with the or no, not 1990. What am I talking about? With Women and Children First, that record. Just scratch all of that. Sorry. With that record, it was I guess it was their third record, and it was kind of like maybe a statement at that point, where it was like like with that record, it shows their serious side, but it also shows their kind of goofy side with some of their records, which I actually do like. But with Cradle Will Rock and then Everybody Wants Some, both of those songs actually made the record better for me, because I had low expectations going into it, and then I had a very, very good time listening to that whole record. But I think when me and Marissa had picked like whatever song we liked from that album, I think I said Everybody Wants Some, and I think it was actually a really good choice because like she was like, oh, like yeah, I go with probably the Cradle Will Rock. I was like, yeah, of course you would. Um, it was tough to put Everybody Wants Some there because it was actually a really really good song. But my number one, I mean, you've probably guessed at this point. My number one, it is Ice Cream Man. Um, Mainly because of David Lee Roth's vocal range and because of how groovy it can get at times with that song. Um, Based on the Michael Anthony bass line and Eddie's guitar work and Alex's drum work and David's vocals and all stuff, like I said, aura farming, I should say there. Um, I would say if I was trying to pick between Everybody Wants Some and Ice Cream Man to like just have like a pick here, I would say Ice Cream Man kind of beats Everybody Wants Some because, like I said, it's of the times. And Ice Cream Man is actually a cover of another person's song, but they made it more their own, which I actually like when bands make it their own kind of cover instead of trying to play to the exact same notes as the original, because it gives it more an authentic feeling. And like, who doesn't like a cover, of a song? Unless like it's very very bad, then go back to the original. But I think it's more so to a to an effect of like if somebody does a cover of say like Diary of Jane, let's just say that. I know if everybody has done that before, but when they do it their own way, it makes it more authentic because like if you like that version more than the original version, you can have both. Like if you want to listen to the original version and then listen to the cover version, like everybody has their own style of recording and their style of like guitar work, drum work, like whatever. It's like with 10-second songs on YouTube, like he'll take a song, but he'll do so many different styles of that song. But then, on his poll, like, he'll be like, let's just say if it's like he's done before, like he done Billie Eilish's Bad Guy, but to the style of Frankie Benjamin. Like, if you like that style, like, then just go listen to it. It's like, who gives a fuck? It's free country. Before I go on to another rant here, sorry about that. But yes, Ice Cream Man is a cover of an original song. I actually like that cover more, but I haven't listened to the original song. So I might do that. I might do that, maybe. Um, but that was my list. If you, well, I guess, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Do you agree with my list? What would be on your list? Like, how would your list go? Let me know in the comments down below. Um, if you have made it to the very end of this video, please make sure to follow us on all social media links in the description below, which would take you to our Linktree page, which would take you to our Instagram pages, Twitter pages, the podcast Reddit pages on there, my gaming YouTube channel is on there, and tonight's song of the night. I think there is a video for Ice Cream Man. I don't know for sure. But tonight's song of the night is going to be Ice Cream Man from Van Halen 1. And yeah, that's it. And I will see you guys next Thursday. Peace.